Imagine being too scared to play a new song live for fear of the backlash that your die-hard fans would give you. This was the reality for Blondie, and here's why. It all starts in New York in 1973. A brand new music club was opened by a man called Hilly Crystal in Manhattan on the site of what was previously a biker bar. Certainly not the kind of place you'd expect any musical revolutions to be happening. The club was called CBGB, Country, Bluegrass and Blues. Great call on the acronym, by the way, that's a mouthful, isn't it? However, the music being booked at the club quickly evolved into something very different indeed. The closure of the Mercer Arts Center elsewhere in New York left bands with a punkier edge very few places to play, and they quickly found their home at CBGB. Early players like Suicide and Ruby and the Rednecks quickly formed a true music scene at the club and made way for later bands who you may just have heard of: Television, The Ramones, Talking Heads, and Angel and the Snake. You're probably thinking, who the f*** are Angel and the Snake? This was the band's first name. But where did Blondie come from? Why did they change their name? And why did their die-hard fans absolutely hate their biggest hit? Hi, I'm Adam, welcome back to Music Mongoose. At the age of 3 months, a girl called Angela Trimble, born in Miami, Florida, was adopted by a pair of gift shop owners in New Jersey and renamed Deborah, or Debbie, Harry. After graduating from college with an arts degree, she moved to New York City to start pursuing a career in music. Along the way, she got a job as a secretary for the BBC and she had a brief stint as a Playboy bunny. A girl of many talents. Success wasn't immediate for Debbie. Her first gig as a backing singer for the band The Wind in the Willows saw her in a signed band for the first time, but their debut album sold so poorly that their second album, which was completed, was never allowed to be released and remains in the vault to this day. A few years later, Harry joined the band The Stilettos, who were gaining some traction in the New York punk scene. It was here where she met our other main player, Chris Stein, who joined the Stilettos as a guitarist in 1973. The two quickly started a relationship and moved in together before quitting the Stilettos and forming a new band called Angel and the Snake, with Billy O'Connor and Fred Smith, who were also in the Stilettos. The name didn't stick for long though. After dyeing her hair the iconic bleach blonde color, she started getting catcalled on the street. Hey, Blondie! See what they did there? It's genius, really. Genius. My band name would be Learn to Drive, you moron. After a couple of lineup changes, Blondie had become regular performers at CBGB and the nearby Max's Kansas City, before being signed to Private Stock Records and releasing their debut album, Blondie, with its lewdly titled single, Ex-Offender. While the album was relatively successful, the band felt that the promotion from their label was subpar. So they broke off their contract with Private Stock and moved to Chrysalis Records in 1977, releasing their second album, Plastic Letters. All this time though, the band had been sitting on one song they couldn't quite get right, a demo called Once I Had a Love. It was a little more disco than the band usually went for, and they simply couldn't get it right in the studio. It wasn't until they got into the studio with producer Mark Chapman to record their third album, Parallel Lines, that things started to really come together. No one in the band can really recall whose idea it was to lean into the disco sound, but lean into it they did. Like a drunk man at 3 a.m, leaning on the bin outside of a kebabi with chips hanging out of his mouth. They bought a shiny new Roland CR78 drum machine, which had only just been released. This made them not only some of the first people to use one, but quite possibly the first rock band to use one at all. They hooked up the drum machine to some other synthesizers and gave the song its signature bubbly synth sound, which the band then played over. The album Parallel Lines was released to critical acclaim in late 1978, and Heart of Glass followed shortly after as a single. But what did Blondie's original fans from CBGB's think of Heart of Glass? They didn't like it. For the hardcore punk scene at the bar, Heart of Glass's disco sound was seen as a betrayal of the band's roots. They'd sold out. They're not cool anymore. They should have probably seen this coming. Blondie had previously covered Donna Summer's I Feel Love, and Debbie Harry had even given interviews expressing her love for the Euro disco music of Giorgio Moroder. Even with all that warning, the fans were furious, and the band refused to play it live for fear of the backlash it would get. The fans' initial outburst didn't affect the success of the single though. Released as the third single from their hit album Parallel Lines, Heart of Glass went to number 1 in the US, the UK, and a slew of other countries. It was their first true mainstream success. As it currently stands, it sits at number 138 in Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 songs of all time, and it ranks in numerous other lists as well. It was a genre-bending game-changer for the New York punk scene, and shone an even brighter worldwide light on one of the best collections of bands to ever come out of the same place at the same time. From here, the only way was up for Blondie. The band had numerous other hits including Call Me, The Tide Is High, and Rapture, which, believe it or not, was the first rap song to reach number 1 in the US. While Debbie isn't exactly Kendrick Lamar, it was a big step for the genre. The band sadly broke up in 1982 after a glittering career when Chris Stein was diagnosed with the life-threatening autoimmune disease, pemphigus. An unfortunate, premature end to one of the greatest bands of the 70s. Wait, hold on. That wasn't the end for Blondie. Stein survived his diagnosis, and after the band members spent a decade or so working on other projects, they reformed in 1997. And their first new single, Maria, went straight to number 1 in the UK. The band continued to tour and release new music to this day. Their most recent album, Pollinator, came out in 2017, and while Stein had to take a step back for a heart condition, the band are a regular staple on festival lineups all over the place, and hopefully for many years to come. Do you think the fans at CBGB were too harsh on the band, or were they within their right to tell the band they've sold out? Let me know what you think in the comments. And for the story of how the Kinks were banned from America, check the video on screen, and I'll catch you next time on Music Mongoose.